Hi, everybody, and welcome to this month's live training for the Secrets of Success mentoring program. And I just want to make sure that my audio is coming out by just switching on my laptop for a second. Yeah, seems to be working fine. So I hope you're keeping well wherever you are amidst these pretty crazy times. Oh my goodness, COVID-19, war, the cost of living going through the roof, energy crisis, economic problems, problems in the economy. Wow, it's challenging to say the least. Challenging to say the least. And no better time than to, well, to talk about this subject today, which is how to create a success mindset. Because you know what? When life is challenging, when things are really difficult, it's very easy to start thinking in terms of loss, start to be pessimistic, and very easy to slide gradually, and there's a lot of fear in the environment. And when you start, getting worried, and the solution is always, always how we think and feel most of the time. And you've heard me say a million times before, our dominant thoughts and emotions create the circumstances of our life. And we're going to go into that in quite depth today because the solution is always our own mind. There is a major difference between how most people think and how highly successful people think. Major, major, major difference. And we'll see what that is. And I'm going to share, as I do every month, very simple strategies, tools, and techniques that you can use to develop the mindset of a winner, to develop a success mindset. So what we're going to cover today, we're going to cover, well, first of all, how your thoughts create your circumstances, how to literally think your way to success, how to improve your self-worth and earning potential, because your earning potential is directly related to your self-worth, how you value yourself, really important. And also I'm going to share with you amazing scientific mind over matter experiments. A lot of people aren't aware of these things, but science has proved at this point that our mind has an effect on its environment, that the way we think actually causes subtle differences in our environment. In fact, not so subtle, major, major, major ways. And we'll get into that. And I'll share with you some of these scientific experiments that show that this is real, this is true. So amazing scientific mind over matter experiments. The easy way to master your mind, because if you don't master your mind, it will master you, usually the negative part of our mind. Okay. And also how to create a powerful success mindset on autopilot. What I share every month, my philosophy is minimum effort, maximum result. What are the small things that I can do to get ahead much faster? Are there strategies, tools, and techniques that are really easy to implement that can have major changes in our lives? And the answer is yes. And I cover that in the high performance section towards the end of each month's session. And high performance methodology has been scientifically proved to work. Anyone who tries these things will get results. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to bring up the chat window here because I want to. John, great, old friend is on the call, and first person I saw there. So look, I just like to get a feel for where people are at in their lives at this moment, because then what I do is I change the training a little bit according to the needs of the group. So I've got two questions for you. Is it two or is it three? It's two questions, and there should be a chat box on the right hand side of the page or at the bottom of the page, or if you swipe left or right or upside down, I don't know, because I broadcast simultaneously on YouTube and a couple of Facebook profiles and I think LinkedIn as well, or maybe that's not working. I'm not sure. But look, wherever you see a chat box, put your response in to the chat box. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I just want to get a feel for the group. How positive have you felt in the past 3 months. I mean, as I said a moment ago, a lot of things have been happening. COVID-19, war in Ukraine, food shortages, the economy crumbling, Putin talking about nuclear weapons. A lot of saber rattling going on, and it's. Have you been feeling very positive? If you've been feeling very positive, give yourself a 7, 8, 9, 10. Have you been feeling very optimistic and empowered, or have you been thinking quite negatively and keep doubting yourself or full of fear? Give yourself a low rating, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 3, 4, 5 anyway. So I'm looking at numbers coming in. At 7, that's great. 9, that's even better. 3, okay. 5, 4, 7, okay. Numbers all over the place. So that's great, because in today's training, I'm going to help you to master your psychology, so you can take actions that give you the very best results. What I share today are not just my own thoughts and beliefs and hopes. What I share each month are things that you can test for yourself and get results. Okay, so another second question. It's gas. I have written up here 2 questions, but I've actually only written 1 question. Oh, hang on a sec. Yeah, that's the only one. That's the only one. I've made a typo in my note file, which is behind the camera. So look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to my main screen, my clicker, and do the presentation, on the, in front of the main camera, and it'll be about 1 hour long, and then we'll come back here in front of my desktop computer, and you can ask me anything. And take this opportunity to ask me anything that we cover in the live trainings here, or anything that you feel that I might be able to help you with. So don't go away. I'm going to blank out this camera. I'm going to blank out this microphone. I'm going to run in front of the main camera, and it'll come to life. So first of all, just don't go away. I need to do a couple of things here. I want to get rid of that logo up there. And then I'm going to just blank out the camera. Don't go away. Hi everybody, and welcome to this month's live training. And the title today, this month, is How to Create a Success Mindset. And so many studies have found that, well, success is actually the biggest factor in becoming really successful is how you think. How you think, not necessarily running around working like crazy. Hard work is important, but how you think is the fundamental difference between highly successful people and people who are not very successful. So let's get straight into this. As I do every month, a quick recap of last month, because people are joining us for the first time every month, and this is to whet your appetite. You can watch the replay on YouTube, Facebook, or my website. So last month we covered influence. It was a session all about how to be more influential. And we discovered that influence is not the same as manipulation, absolutely not. And also how to become a person of great influence. We looked at how to use influence to be more successful, how to get greater support from others. And if you don't get a lot of support from others, you can't really achieve your bigger dreams in life. Really important to be really influential. How to deepen your friendships and relationships, how to communicate more effectively, how to gain more respect from others, how to gain more trust from others. And that was all last month. So if you want to be really influential, check it out. Watch last month's training, because this is one of the hallmarks of the world's most successful people, the world's most fulfilled and happiest people. They are influential. They're not shrinking violets. They know how to communicate their ideas and visions to others in a way where other people want to assist them. Okay, so that's what we covered last month. So what are we going to cover today? Well, first of all, how to master your mind and be more successful. And we're going to look at the life-changing power of positive thought, and also the destructive power of negative thought. I'll give you examples from my own life that I think you'll be able to relate to, and also how to improve your self-worth and your earning potential, because your earning potential is directly related to your self-worth, how you feel about yourself. Do you value yourself? A lot of people don't. And we're also going to look at, believe it or not, mind over matter experiments that prove that your thoughts have effect on your surroundings and even what happens to you. And also we're going to look at how to master your mind with minimal effort, because everything I teach each month in the Secrets of Success mentoring program, in these live training sessions, it's all about minimum effort, maximum result. So many people run out after the next shiny object. It's called shiny object syndrome. They try this and they try that, but they don't stick to things that have been scientifically proved and use those things. And if certain aspects of success can be scientifically proved, doesn't it make sense to do those things that work for people instead of trying this and trying that and the next new thing? I think it was Plato said that there's nothing new under the sun, and it's true, but different people come along and teach things in different ways according to the time and according to, society and its needs. So, sorry, getting off on a tangent there, but yeah, how to master your mind with minimal effort. Also, how to create a powerful success mindset and autopilot. That was the point I was making. This is all about minimum effort, maximum result. What are the simple strategies, tools, and techniques that can get you ahead faster in life, that can allow you to achieve your goals and the sort of life that you yearn for? What are those simple things? And do other people do things that enable them to get ahead more easily, more quickly? The answer is absolutely yes, and that's what we do every month. So why are these things even important? Why do you need to master your mind in order to become more successful? Well, you'll be able to get anything that you want more easily. You'll be able to improve your career and your relationships. You'll be able to literally think and grow rich, just like the amazing book by Napoleon Hill almost 100 years ago, Think and Grow Rich. So that's why these things are important. So first of all, you've probably heard me say this 1,000 times, your dominant thoughts and your dominant emotions create the circumstances of your life. So if you're wondering why things may not be going in the direction that you would like, well, what are you thinking most of the time? What are those repeated thoughts? What are those repeated emotions? Because we're going to be looking at the nature of the subconscious mind in a few minutes, and you'll find that your repeated thoughts and emotions change everything. They determine everything. Really important, this, So your dominant thoughts and emotions create your circumstances. So let's dig into this. And I'm going to share with you 2 examples of this. First of all, using the power of positive thought. And unfortunately, also using the power of negative thought, just to show you what's possible if you're a positive thinker or a negative thinker. Okay, so the first example. As a child, I had asthma. Sadly, it's come back again in the last few years, but nowhere remotely as bad as when I had asthma as a kid. I had asthma from the age of, I think, 5 until about 12, 13, and then it disappeared. It's come back, but nothing like as a child. If you have ever suffered from asthma, or you do suffer from asthma, it can be very scary. You can often be fighting for breath. Yeah, my brother just admitted to me about a year ago that many times he thought when we were children that I was going to die, because he saw me just not able to breathe. So when you are not able to breathe and you're not able to do sports and you're really crappy at sports and the ball is thrown to you and you sort of move away from it, nobody wants you on their team. And unfortunately, I went to a school where sports were compulsory, even if you suffered from asthma. So I can't even begin to explain how traumatic sports were for me. But the school I went to was forced on you. So when you every week queuing up, we'd all line up, and one of the heads of each team would pick who they wanted on their team. And I was about 12 at this stage. It was just before asthma suddenly disappeared. And everybody would say, people would be chosen for the two teams. And I would be the last one standing, or the last one of two. And they'd all argue over not having me on their team. No, we had Pettigrew last week. He was useless. No way are we having him. And when you hear this, excuse me, not every week, but every few days, he's useless, he's useless, he's useless. You start to begin it, you start to believe it. You begin to really believe you're useless, not necessarily just at sports, but all sorts of things. Because this is how conditioning occurs. This is how mental programming occurs, repetition and emotion. So if you hear the same thing again and again and again, and it brings up feelings, it becomes really strong, subconscious, limiting belief. So, as I say, this led into me really believing I was useless, not just at sports, but all sorts of different things. So, quite naturally, as a young adult, I had very low self-worth, very low self-esteem, didn't think I was worth anything. Because this mental program running all the time in my subconscious. And then it's kind of like life becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. What you believe with emotion manifests all the time, and it just reconfirms your negative beliefs about yourself. Really painful. People can get trapped in this sort of these limiting beliefs for a lifetime if you don't become aware of it and do something about it. So when I started my first, I started my first business when I was 15, but when I started my first real company, it was 1987. It was in Ireland. It was in the midst of a recession. All young people were just leaving the country to go to the US or the UK to get work, and I started a business in the middle of a recession. And the first few years were a financial roller coaster. It was really hard. It was really hard just to, it was almost feast or famine. Some days, sometimes it would affect my ability to feed myself. It was that bad at times. So, very interesting situation happened. I was living in a shared house. I was sharing a house with a couple of girls and a guy. And I went over to the UK one weekend to some course or something years ago. This is, as I say, I don't know, 1987, 88 or 89. And I came back and the house had been burgled. The girls and the guy, they didn't lose anything. I did. I lost my hi-fi, my stereo system, really good one. Oh, no. It was the CD player, and all my CDs were just stolen. Oh, no. Now, bear in mind, as I say, I didn't have much money. But what did I do, like an idiot? I went out and bought a new CD player. You might think, oh yeah, of course, replace it. It wasn't insured. But I replaced all my CDs, and that was a lot of money, a lot of money for someone who didn't really have much money. And the crazy thing was, I didn't really value my CD collection. It wasn't really like listening to it all of the time. A lot of those, I could have replaced those gradually over a period of time, but I've been sensible with my finances. Anyway, so there, new CD player, new CDs, great. And a few weeks later, I went over to London for another like a seminar. And I came back, guess what happened? Oh no, somebody must have kept the eyes on the house because I was burgled again. And my new CD player and all my new CDs were stolen again. And then an interesting pattern began to emerge. I had a friend from the UK come over to stay with me in Ireland for a few days. And he noticed how I was really not valuing myself. I was saying yes to everyone. There's one particular guy who kept phoning me up, said, hey, and he'd always start his conversation with, hi Mike, how's it going? Could you do me a favor? Before even hearing how I was going, how I was feeling, and how I was, almost immediately get to, can you do me a favor? And I said, yeah, sure. And it wasn't just this one person, but I was just spending so much time doing stuff for people that they could have got someone else to do. But they kept calling me because they just knew I'd be willing to do things. And I was just wasting my own, devaluing myself. And therefore, other people were devaluing me. They could have got someone else to do all these things. And this friend who was staying, who'd come over from the UK for that week, he noticed how one of these people called me sometimes 3 times that week saying, can you do me a favor? And he said, you're not really seeing this, are you? I said, what? You're devaluing yourself. You are really devaluing yourself. Just saying yes to everyone. You don't take a night off. You're just doing stuff for people all the time. That's not very self-respecting, is it? So, really? You really think? So this guy was, quite elderly. I think he's in his late 70s, early 80s. And he's quite wise. And he said, yeah, I do, actually. So, so that was that. So the next time that particular person called, hey Mike, can you do me a favor? I said, actually, look, I'm doing a lot for you and helping you in various different ways. And that's great, I get pleasure from it. But, maybe just meet up some evening just for a chat. What? You're not going to help me? And I said, well, yeah, sure, maybe, but let's just meet up for a chat. And he got really angry. And I didn't hear from him for 7 years. You never guess what happened. 7 years later, I got a call. And he said, hi Mike, long time no hear. Can you do me a favor? I couldn't believe it. Now, he knew I had a business at that point. And he wanted me to write on headed note paper that his wife worked for me. She didn't. And that she was on a certain salary each year so that they could get a mortgage. They wanted me to commit fraud so they could get a mortgage. I said, don't know. I have to check with my accountant, my CPA about that. And anyway, never heard from him again when I said, look, really, sorry. I'm told I should not do this. Never heard from the guy again. But look, this is very easy, to allow ourselves to be taken advantage of, particularly if you really enjoy people, or really enjoy helping people, But this got so much worse. I started to really see how much I devalued myself and how my finances were reflecting that. Because I went to a seminar in Japan. This was 1990, November 1990. And business had been going okay, feast or famine still, 3 years into the business at this point. And anyway, look, I came back from Japan and I discovered I was in real financial problems. I didn't see this coming. I owed a lot more money to our suppliers. Now, my company, my business was supplying tropical plants to offices, and then I had maintenance staff driving around in vans, going to all these different offices, cleaning the plants, watering them, taking care of them, all that sort of stuff. And I owed something like 3 times more money in the next month than was going to come in the next month. I thought, oh my goodness, our suppliers are going to cut us off, the business is finished. And I really thought that was the end. I was going to have to fold up the business and just apologize to everyone. But then I thought, I've worked like a demon for 3 years. I can't do this. All that blood, sweat and tears would be for nothing. So even back then I did, I've been practicing a form of meditation all my life, and it enables you to tap into your inner wisdom. So I started focusing on this crisis, and it suddenly became clear this is all related to self-worth. The fact that my house had been burgled and I'd lost the CD player, and I replaced it with new CDs and new CD player. You have to think about this. What is money? It's an exchange for blood, sweat and tears that you've made, effort made. So if I'm just going out buying stuff that I don't really value. I'm devaluing myself. I'm devaluing all the time and effort I have gone to create that money to be able to buy those things. So this is really important. And then, and then, you know, with the experience of this, a couple of people who were really using me, I was saying yes with a smile. It became so clear. My whole financial roller coaster was as a result. All my lack of money, lack of funds, despite my huge amount of work I was putting into it, was all down to one thing: low self-worth. Low self-worth, low self-value, low self-esteem. All because when I was a kid and I had asthma, everybody said, Pettigrew's useless, Pettigrew's useless. This became a program that ran on for years and wrecked my finances. But I changed that. So I really had two choices. Either fold up the business, give up the business, or dramatically improve my self-worth. Wonder which one I chose. 1 second, I need some water. To your very good health. So obviously, I didn't give up the business. I decided to dramatically improve my self-worth. Didn't really know how to go about it, but once again, your dominant thoughts and emotions create your circumstances. So obviously, I decided to improve my self-worth. So what the first thing I did, the first action, because you always have to take action after you've had a major realization, otherwise nothing changes. Firstly, I doubled my prices to my clients. The prices that we charged for renting tropical plants or selling them and getting them maintained was too low. I knew it was too low, but it was, you know, I thought it's a way to get a lot of clients quickly. And well, you know what? People don't really value your service if your prices are too low. They think there's something wrong. So I doubled my prices. Now I expected to lose half the clients. If I lost half the clients, fine, because we'd only have to service half the clients for double the money. Half the amount of work for double the money. And I expected, as I say, to lose half of them at least. I thought it might be the end of the business. Every single one of them said yes. In fact, 2 of them said, oh, we couldn't understand why your fees were so low and why you never asked us for payment. Oh my goodness. And one of them said, you know, we really thought you were devaluing yourself. Oh gosh, I've only been told that months, years before. Anyway, I doubled my price, my business took off. And I started taking actions to value myself more. Just little actions, giving myself nice treats once a week, do something different, you know, just treasuring myself. One of my next door neighbours even noticed how I was going around helping people all of the bloody time. And she said, look, you're devaluing yourself. I thought, really? all these signals. And she said, look, take a night off once a week for yourself. Have fun, you know. And I did, and she was right. And I started, you know, doing things that I wouldn't have thought of before. And I started really discovering all sorts of qualities within myself I, you know, didn't even realize, because I was running around all the time doing good stuff for people. I'm very happy to do good stuff for people today, but I'm very careful about how I use my time. I am very unavailable to most people. You know, you try and get through to me by phone, no way, you're not going to. You have to go through a few gatekeepers. So no, I value my time so highly now because I know how valuable it is. And I'm very careful how I use my time. And I say no far more times than I say yes. I'm very picky and choosy about the things that I commit to, because time is so valuable. I've got some major things that I need to do, and I won't allow time wasters to take any of my time. You know, it's really important, self-worth and self-esteem. And really, when you value yourself and appreciate yourself more, guess what happens? You start to value and appreciate other people a lot more in a really sincere way. Okay? So my business became a massive success, and as I say, I discovered all sorts of exciting talents and abilities I didn't know I had. I became very successful and rich, and I had over 500 corporate clients in Ireland, and in 2001 I sold my company to a multinational, the dream of most entrepreneurs. And this is from a newspaper. In fact, I'm going to take my glasses off because I can't read. I read a tiny bit. This is January 2002, January the 4th. This is a few months after I sold my business. I was actually in the boardroom of the big company, the multinational that bought my company, on September the 11th, 2001, when the Twin Towers were crashed into. And my first, one of their directors came in and said, "Did you hear what happened? What happened?" People say no, and he told us about the Twin Towers. And everyone was utter shock, and I was thinking, "Oh my God, that's terrible." And after a few minutes, I realized, oh well, this sale of my company isn't going to go through, but it did. It did. This is a few months later. I'm originally from a small town on the east coast of Ireland called Wicklow. So this says, windfall for Wicklow businessman. A Wicklow entrepreneur has scooped a substantial financial windfall with the sale of his business. It wasn't a windfall. I created it. Windfalls just come out of the blue. No. Businessman Michael Pettigrew sold his indoor plant rental company to Rent-A-Kill Initial, one of Europe's largest plant rental companies. Blah, 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 blah. It gives some of the clients, IBM and Panasonic, Creative Labs, Corel, Novell, blah, all that. So that was the result of improving my self-worth. And if we have low self-worth, and that low self-worth program is just going on and on and on, it will wreck our finances long term, unless we do something about it. Okay, so this was the effect of creating a positive mindset. It's so easy to do when you know how, okay? This is the effect of creating a positive mindset. Now for the opposite. Once again, your dominant thoughts and emotions create your circumstances. Here's a guy who looked very sad. That was me a few years later. So, yeah, this is example 2, the power of negative thought. Well, unfortunately, even though I was very rich, I thought I'd take an early retirement. I don't know, in my 30s, was I? Late 30s? It's actually, it's over 20 years ago now. Yeah, 2001, September 2001. Anyway, look, I made some really bad investments with all the money I got for the sale of the company. Made some really bad investments that at the time looked really good. And I absolutely trusted the wrong people. This is the thing. If you become very successful, a lot of jealousy out there. People want to get stuff easy from you. And people can be very dishonest. Especially if you are like I was back then, quite naive and over-trusting. I assure you I'm neither naive or overly trusting anymore. I like people to think I am. But I do a lot of background research whenever an opportunity comes to me on people and situations, and very, very careful, extremely careful. You've got to be when you're creating big stuff. So, as I say, I made bad investments. I trusted the wrong people. I lost everything within just a few years. I gradually sank into pessimism. I remember there was one year I got into a form of business that was just awful. It just ate my life up. It destroyed me almost. One year we lost €250,000. That's even more in dollars. I don't know, $300,000 at the time. That was one year, and there was a few years like that. And you know what? Even if you're positive and optimistic and full of self-confidence, as I was for a long, long time, when you experience gradual loss over a long period of time, no matter what self-esteem you have built up, it can all be eroded. Nothing is permanent. You can go from being very successful to being almost destitute if you experience loss again and again and again and again, and that you start to then expect more bad stuff to happen. And it does happen because your dominant thoughts and emotions create your circumstances. So I gradually sank into pessimism. I absolutely hated myself, and I berated myself all of the time. All my positivity was gone at that point. You know, the result of this constant loss, massive loss, thousands every week, and hating myself and full of fear and expecting more bad stuff to happen, and it did. It just got worse and worse because the cycle of thoughts and emotions were so negative, okay? And it got so bad. I had no money to feed my wife or a little baby who had just been born. Absolutely the worst experience of my entire life. I just cannot even begin to describe how scared I was. I was perpetual fear all of the time. And I remember spending our last 10 euros in the whole world. After that, nothing. And you know, you might think, oh, why didn't you go on social welfare or social security and draw money from the government? I couldn't because I was a company director. Company directors can't get handouts from the government. You have to relinquish your directorships of whatever companies you have, and it takes time before you can get money from the government. So I couldn't even get money to feed my family. So this was the power of negative thought, and I would strongly suggest that you don't think this way. And if you do think this way already, well, I'm going to share something amazing with you that will change all this. Once again, I need some water to your very good health, success and happiness, and yep, all that. And more. Okay. So, how did I change our circumstances? I assure you I did. Well, firstly, I got to the point, I just couldn't take it anymore. I got to the point where I just, you know, I almost screamed to the universe. I don't know if I screamed out loud or in my mind. I said, this must change. I will change. Show me what to do. I'll do anything. It was almost like a vow to the universe. And the very next day, some miraculous way, I got hold of this book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, written over 100 years ago. And I assure you, what attracted me was the title, Getting Rich. And if the title had been The Science of Getting Rich really, really, really fast, I probably would have devoured it twice as much. But, you know, reading this short book, I started to get really excited for the first time in a couple of years. Now, don't forget, I had been already really successful, really rich, but I'd lost it all. I'd got to this state where I was really negative, having lost everything. So I desperately needed some words of wisdom that could change the situation. I really knew so clearly that I had to change my dominant thoughts and emotions, because I knew a lot of this stuff back then. I knew that our repeated thoughts and emotions create our day-to-day reality. And, you know, but sometimes you slide so low you forget all these things. And picking up this book, you know, the title, you think it's, you know, it's all about gratitude, actually. The power of gratitude. I wrote a book called Unlock Gratitude Now and My Crazy Gratitude Experiment because of this experience. So, yeah, my crazy gratitude experiment, this changed everything for us. The book was all about riches created through gratitude. Because you know what? Resentment and complaint and anger pushes all sorts of good things away. But when we are living lives full of gratitude and appreciation and love, it's like a giant magnet that pulls wonderful things into our environment. So I realized very clearly, or re-realized, that I've got to change my mindset, my dominant thoughts and emotions, and I've got to start using this power of gratitude if I was to have any chance of transforming our situation. So I came up with this idea. I thought, right, how can I bring up gratitude and make that really, really dominant? Obviously, I have to do something frequently, because otherwise I'll just slip back to the old terrible mindset that I had. So I decided to, I had a friend, sadly he passed away a couple of years ago. His name is Bruce Moen, a very famous author. And back, I think it was 2001 or 2002. Oh, there's little Teddy. Hello, little pussycat. Anyway, Bruce told me once, here we go, start of the show, as always. Bruce told me once that, if you ever want to return to any state of consciousness you've experienced in the past, all you have to do is remember what it felt like. So how do I bring up gratitude now? By thinking of a time in the past where I felt deep, sincere gratitude and focusing on that memory until you start feeling gratitude. So I did that. I went back through my past in my mind, found one event where I felt so grateful. And every 30 minutes of the day, I would do this crazy gratitude experiment. Remember a time in the past where I felt sincerely grateful. So doing this every 30 minutes of the day, things didn't magically change, but I started changing. Even after at the end of the first day, I was so much more light within myself. I was sort of gone from pessimism to expecting good stuff to happen. It's amazing what you can do if you're committed to doing it and you're desperate to do it, and even in short periods of time. So that was my crazy gratitude experiment. And what happened was, literally within a couple of days, I think it was 3 days, huge coincidences started happening, huge synchronicities that affect me profoundly to this day. It's the as I say, our dominant thoughts and emotions create our circumstances. So when you're bringing up gratitude and you're pumping gratitude out of your life, all sorts of coincidences start happening. It's like we're part of this giant web, and we pull the corner of the web, and the whole web changes shape. Always when you pull the corner of a spider's web or a fishing net, the whole web changes shape. We are connected through innumerable ways to everything in the cosmos. And when you make a change within yourself, it affects everything. And new coincidences, new possibilities come into your life. Really, really powerful. And here he's toed on the poor fellow's tail here. So, as soon as I changed my mindset, our circumstances started to change. Okay, so let's look a bit more at the power of positive thoughts. Mahatma Gandhi said, "A man is but the product of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes." And Winston Churchill said, "The pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty." Great words. Okay. And also, excuse me, W. Clement Stone. He said there is little difference in people, but that little difference makes a big difference. The little difference is attitude. The big difference is whether it is positive or negative. So that sums up all about, how our positive thoughts or negative thoughts affect things. But what does science say about this? Is it true? Certainly, these three very wise people seem to say so. Certainly, my own experiences have proved it to me. Well, let's see what science says. The fact is, sensitive experiments can be influenced by the mind. And advances in science have found that the observer, the person observing the experiment, has a subtle influence on the outcome of the experiment in very sensitive experiments. This has been shown innumerable times all around the world, particularly, discoveries in quantum physics. That's just one example. And also, here's a guy called Dr. Masaru Emoto. He died a few years ago. Some people think, he wasn't a doctor at all, he was just a researcher. No, he was a doctor. Tell that to any of his living relatives, they'd be very upset. He was a doctor. Not a medical doctor, but he basically would freeze water, and using high-speed photography, he would capture the images of the water crystals that would form But he would do these experiments thousands of times, and he would get people to project negative thoughts on the freezing water samples, or positive thoughts, or the effects of negative words or positive words. And as I say, this is all highly repeatable. It's been repeated thousands of times. And you know, scientific experiments, you only could discover truth when there's repeatability, when you see the same result from the same causes again and again and again. So he discovered that people's thoughts and emotions have direct effect on physical matter. In this case, the forming of water crystals in ice samples. Here's Adolf Hitler. Look, it's all distorted, really, really distorted. That's what I didn't say. Beautiful crystals come from beautiful, beautiful emotions. This is gratitude. Beautiful. And when people have very negative thoughts, the crystals that would form would be very stunted and very ugly, and maybe not even uniform crystalline shape. So here's peace. You know, this is amazing stuff. You could try this yourself, possibly. I don't know, you'd need a really cold room, high-speed photography, and, you know, nice warm suit or whatever, and a whole gang of friends, you know. These things, this is just one example. So this is Masaru Emoto. This is Dr. Harry Oldfield. I knew Dr. Harry Oldfield quite well. He taught me a lot. He was the inventor of a machine called the PIP scanner, poly contrast interference photography. But in medicine, there is another PIP scanner, so he did change the name. I presume that's the reason why he changed it to new energy vision. Basically, he had this hypothesis that if human beings and animals and plants have energy fields, if there is some sort of electromagnetic radiation from the physical body, we should be able to, you know, be able to detect that. And his thought was that if, you know, somebody stands in front of a pure spectrum, full spectrum, pure white light, then surely if they have this thing that ancient Far Eastern medicine has said for thousands of years, we have this energy field, surely photons of light from that pure light source should bounce off not just the physical body but the energy field itself. Surely there's a way of detecting those minute reflections. So he came up with a software program, himself and another guy, and basically it runs on an ordinary computer, just any really cheap, ancient computer even, running this software, and you stand in front of a normal video camera with pure white light, white background, and it shows up the energy field. And this is the sort of thing you can see, and you can project energy to another person. You can see the effects of that. You know, I showed this, I got one of these machines from Harry Oldfield, back, I don't know, 2000, 2001, 2002, thereabouts. Very expensive at the time, thousands. But it's just a cheap computer with great software. But look, the thing is, actually, one sec, yeah, I'll just play it again. You can actually see what Chinese medicine for thousands of years says takes place. This river of energy, rivers of energy around the body. And you can actually see the acupuncture meridians. I remember showing this to an acupuncturist a long time ago. And I said, have you ever seen one of these rivers of energy, these acupuncture meridians that you treat with needles? With the acupuncture needles? And he said, no, I can find them, and I know where they are. I said, come here, take a look at this. And I showed it to him, and he couldn't believe his eyes. He said, oh my goodness, they're in exactly the right place, exactly the places I treat. He was extremely excited. So this stuff is real. This stuff is absolutely real. And I've done many experiments, a long time ago actually, where I would project thoughts to another person. You'd see the effects of those thoughts. So I did my own experiments. Okay, so that's quantum physics, Masaru Emoto, Dr. Harry Oldfield, and there are innumerable other studies that have been done. In fact, I have a whole book of them. I can't remember 99% of them. So these are not the only scientific experiments that prove, or at least give extremely strong evidence, that your dominant thoughts and your dominant emotions affect your life and possibly even create the circumstances of your life, which I know is true. Okay, so let's look now at the subconscious mind, the nature of the subconscious mind. This is kind of a recap because I talk about it frequently. Your subconscious mind makes up about 95% of your entire mind. Your thinking conscious mind is only a very small portion of your entire mind. And most people know about their subconscious mind that it controls and regulates all your bodily activities, like the beating of your heart, the breathing of your lungs. You don't have to focus, make your heart beat through conscious effort. If you did, you'd die if you fell asleep, wouldn't you? So it controls all your automated bodily functions. Your subconscious mind also files, catalogues and records all your experiences, both positive and negative. And if you have lots of negative experiences that invoke a lot of emotion, it creates programs that continue to run, self-limiting belief programs that continue to run, that can sabotage that area of life. That's just really sad, but there's a way of changing it. Also, amazing thing, your subconscious mind is a gateway to unlimited wisdom. Unlimited wisdom. We are connected to an infinite source of wisdom. Every human being has this capability. One way that, for example, Thomas Edison, the inventor, about 100 years ago, all these people noticed they were about 100 years ago. Thomas Edison would often find, if he's trying to invent something or he's trying to figure out some technical problem that he's trying to solve and he couldn't, he would hand it over to his subconscious mind to give him the answer. So what he did was he'd focus on the problem, tell his subconscious mind that I demand a solution, I will get a solution, and he would get himself into a state where he believed he would get the solution, and then he'd fall asleep for maybe 30 minutes or an hour, and on awakening, often the solution would be there in his mind. The answer would just like come out of nowhere. I've used this, oh my goodness, I've used this technique, and well, it's caused major transformations in one of my businesses, actually more than one. Very powerful. Wisdom that it's unlimited, and you have this within you, okay? So, as I said a moment ago, we've all been, you have been conditioned. We all have repeated thought and emotion. Hearing people saying the same thing again and again and again. It forms these beliefs within you. So, your subconscious beliefs, very sad, your subconscious beliefs always win out. So even if you think you can achieve something, but you've got all this negative conditioning that makes your subconscious mind believe it's not possible, guess which wins? Your subconscious beliefs, always, So I like this picture. Consciously you want, subconsciously you don't. Subconscious mind is pulling you back. So if you find that you, for a long time, have been held back in a specific area of life, or many areas, it's very often, it's down to the limiting beliefs you have in that area of life. If you're always broke, never have enough money at the end of the month to save or invest or whatever, very good chance that you have limiting beliefs surrounding money, And in my bestseller, The Most Powerful Goal Achievement System in the World, I share a very simple, really effective technique for becoming aware of your limiting beliefs in any area of life, relationships, finances, career, whatever, all areas. Any area that you feel you're being held back, a very simple technique to become aware of your limiting beliefs in that area and how to cancel them permanently. And then whatever was impossible before suddenly becomes possible. Really powerful stuff. So learning how your subconscious works and learning how to use it, this is one of the greatest, what would you say? This is one of the greatest factors in becoming far more successful. and creating the sort of life you want, rather than, allowing other situations to create for you. So, your subconscious mind, fortunately, great thing is it can be influenced. As I say, repeated thought and emotion is what creates these subconscious beliefs in the first place. So how do you influence it? By repeated thoughts and emotions, So that's the good news. That's good news. So you can literally reprogram your mind for success using the power of repetition and emotion. Excuse me. So basically, all you need to do is create new habits that work on autopilot. Okay. So I've talked about. I'm not going to go into all the details about this today. I'm going to go into some of them. But if you really want to know more about the subconscious mind, get a hold of the most powerful goal achievement system in the world. You can get the Kindle version on Amazon for $1. I would give it away for free, only Amazon doesn't allow that. But I priced it at the lowest possible prices, which is just $1, so that as many people as possible can benefit from it. And it has hundreds of 5-star reviews. It's helped change the lives of many, many people. It works. It's all about the subconscious mind and using the subconscious mind to achieve your goals more quickly and more easily. 1 second, more water. Otherwise I'm going to be croaking like a frog. Okay, so now high performance coaching. This is really important. Every month I share strategies, tools and techniques of the world's most successful people. Strategies, tools and techniques that have been scientifically proved to work. These are high performance habits. And this is Brendan Burchard, the founder of the High Performance Institute, that studied over 300,000 high performers, people at the tops of their game, people, highly successful people, to find out if there are common habits that they all use that enable them to become really successful. And the findings are that there absolutely are. So these are the things that I share each month. These are habits, tools, techniques that you can test, and they will work for you, because they work for everyone else. Okay? Simple things. So what does it mean? High performance means excelling and succeeding above and beyond standard norms consistently over the long term. These are the small little adjustments you can make and habits you can form that have long-term effects. Okay? So high performance habits. Firstly, high performance is not the same as peak performance. If you're an athlete, you have to get into a peak performance state to run that marathon or swim that pool 100 times really quickly. 100 times might be a bit much, but you can't sustain peak performance. You'd die. But high performance is different. You can do these simple things, simple habits. You can use these each day to keep you more alive, more focused, more energized, happier. Okay? So high performers have greater energy, fulfillment, aliveness, and joy. Fact. They are people who master productivity and time management. We only get 24 hours in a day, so isn't it better to get more enjoyment from those 24 hours and bring your dreams to reality more easily? I think so. High performers master their psychology and boost their energy. And if you want to get achieve the better things in life, you need more energy. Your energy determines everything. And high performers use very simple techniques to reduce stress and burnout. And most high performers take little energization breaks throughout the day, every 60 or 90 minutes. I find 60 minutes a bit too frequent. Just getting up from your desk, if you work at a desk, do a few little stretches, do some breathing, and go back to your desk. And after 2 minutes, you've so much more energy. You replenish your energy as you go through the day rather than losing it. And the result is that high performers are far more effective and far more influential, and they achieve their goals faster and they are more successful. So doesn't it make sense to learn some of these high performance habits? Well, I share them every single month. So here's something that I've shared before many times, and I want to do a recap because it's important. It's one of those ways to influence your subconscious mind. As the Buddha said, what we think, we become. So this is a clarity chart and tapping exercise. So you need to choose 3 words that will define the best of who you are and that you will use to guide your personal life, including your thoughts. You come up with your own words. The words that I choose for myself, I want to be myself. I want to be motivating, inspiring, and empowering. I need to be those qualities. So these are 3 words I remind myself every few hours, okay? Interaction. How do you want to interact with other people? Okay, the 3 words that will now define and guide how you will engage and treat others whom you meet in life, including your loved ones and strangers, are, what do you want to include as these 3 words? Choose your own. Mine are, when I interact with other people, I want to be caring, attentive, and appreciative. These things don't naturally just happen, but when you remind yourself, a couple of times a day, over a period of weeks, they start to take effect. Over days, they start to take effect, and you become these words. So success markers, the 3 words that will now remind you of what it is that made you most successful and will make you even more successful include, we're all successful at something, Everyone is successful at something. You may be a great listener. That's a superpower, So my success markers that I have chosen for me are clarity, determination, and consistency, because those are 3 qualities that have enabled me to be very successful throughout my career and that keep me successful. If I lost my clarity or my determination or my consistency, everything would fall apart probably. So you need to come up with your own words. So what do you do with these words? You tap them into the acupuncture points. I'll just give you a quick demonstration, although I've shown this many times before. You just bring your fingers together, almost like a claw, and you tap above the eyebrows. I'll give this as an example: motivating, inspiring, empowering. You do this, every few hours. Do one of these groups of words: motivating, inspiring, empowering, motivating, inspiring, empowering, motivating, inspiring, empowering. Next, just below the eyes: motivating, inspiring, empowering, motivating, inspiring, empowering, motivating, inspiring, empowering. Just under the nose, either side of the nose: motivating, inspiring, empowering, motivating, inspiring, empowering, motivating, inspiring, empowering. Now, either side of the chin: motivating, inspiring, empowering, motivating, inspiring, empowering, motivating, inspiring, empowering. These are commands. You're tapping into your subconscious mind through the acupuncture meridians. Now, behind the ears: motivating, inspiring, empowering, motivating, inspiring, empowering, motivating, inspiring, empowering. Top of the head: motivating, inspiring, empowering, motivating, inspiring, empowering, motivating, inspiring, empowering. And finally, the collarbone, just below the collarbone: motivating, inspiring, empowering, motivating, inspiring, empowering, motivating, inspiring, empowering. That only takes a few seconds. So if you do one group of words, maybe, 9 a.m., another group of words at, 12 noon, another group of words towards the end of the working day, and you do that every day, you start to become more of these words, because you're influencing your subconscious mind. You're showing exactly what you want. You're connecting directly to your subconscious mind. That's because the acupuncture points it connects you to your subconscious mind. You could just say these out loud, and it will have effect if you bring up emotion. But using the tapping just makes it even more powerful. Okay, so that's very practical, very simple. So, set phone reminders. On your phone, set a reminder every few hours to go off and have your 3 words pop up, whichever group of 3 you want for that particular time of day. Very simple. So, psychology mastery questions. The great thing about questions, when you ask questions of yourself, it enables you to track your progress. It enables you to get clear on how you are right now and what adjustments you might need to make. Very important questions. So you don't have to write these questions down right now, because I'm going to give you a PDF, a downloadable PDF of all the slides in today's presentation in just a few minutes from now. But do this exercise after, it's important. So if you had to describe how your mindset made you successful to a person you were mentoring, how would you describe it? Number 2, what's one belief you could adopt about yourself that would make you feel more happy and confident? Powerful question. Number 3, do you ever find yourself focusing on negative thoughts or faults? No? No, sure not. No, that's you'd be superhuman if you didn't. Number 4, if so, when does that happen, and what are those thoughts and faults that you focus on? Number 5, how are they affecting you? Because I assure you they are. Number 6, what could you do to create a healthier, more positive psychology, a more positive mindset? What could you do? You have this wisdom within you. You definitely do. What could you do? Okay. Number 7, how could you make that a habit? How could you make it an automated habit? Like I showed you the tapping. That's one way of making it a habit, these things a habit. So, tenets of psychology mastery. Number 1, the following 3 actions aim your mind and provide the fertile ground for developing a more engaged and consciously directed mind. Okay? Number 1, focus on and live from your strengths, not your limitations. Okay, sometimes it's important to become aware of your limiting beliefs and erase those, but most of the time we need to be focusing on our strengths, not obsessing about our limitations. Okay? Unfortunately, in the last 50 years, the field of psychology has taught us to focus almost exclusively on what is wrong with us, our maladies and disorders. Many of us focus more on our limitations and problems than what makes us strong and limitless. It's time to re-engage and focus on what makes you remarkable, and there are things that make you remarkable. So, number 1, my weaknesses and limitations that I've overly focused on include, fill in the blank. Number 2, my top 5 strengths in life include, fill in the blank. Number 3, if I lived from these top strengths more often and with greater focus, these things would change in my life. Fill in the blank. Number 4, the way I'm going to remind myself of my strengths and live from them more often is, fill in the blank. There's a great action there. So, tenets of psychology mastery. Number 2, use the power of questions to direct your mind. Questions aim our focus. Most people know this, but still ask themselves disempowering questions when chasing their dreams or interacting with others. Let's direct the power of your mind by choosing 5 questions you could ask yourself every day to elevate your mood and life experience. So the 5 questions I could ask myself every single day that would put me in a positive mood and direct my focus for the day positively are: number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Come up with 5 questions you could ask yourself each day that positively direct your mind. Very powerful stuff. And yeah, the way I'm going to remind myself to do these the way I'm going to remind myself of these 5 questions every day is to, up to you, maybe have your phone pop them up as a reminder, an alarm, a repeated alarm. It's up to you. So, tenets of psychology mastery. Number 3, control your RWID. What is that? It's relative weight of importance and duration. Remember I was saying about your subconscious mind is affected by repetition and emotion? Well, here it is. RWID stands for relative weight of importance and duration. The concept explains that for any given thought we have in our minds, we assign a level of importance. For example, we pay attention to it or we don't. We assign emotion to it or we don't. And we focus on it for a given amount of time or duration. The more importance we give a thought, and the longer we focus on it with importance, the more real it becomes in our minds. And the more our unconscious or subconscious repeats the thought to us. The good news is we can wield control over this process and choose to give empowering thoughts more importance and longer duration of contemplation. This is what I was talking about at the beginning of today's training, where, having lost everything, I just was locked into these negative thoughts. I was giving negative thoughts and emotions huge amount of headspace. And the way to change that is new empowering thoughts and emotions, and everything changes. This is fact. This has also been proved scientifically. Number one, the thoughts that deserve more importance on my mental dashboard each day include, fill in the blank. 2, the next time I spend too much time giving trivial or disempowering thoughts too much weight and time, I'm going to immediately, what? Fill in the blank. So, these, once again, questions, asking yourself questions, it enables you to assess where you're at right now, and also come up with amazing answers, solutions from your own mind, your inner wisdom, which you have in abundance. Never overestimate the power of questions. Questions are the avenue and doorway to extraordinary possibility and success. So I hope you've enjoyed this and benefited from it. So what did we cover today? Firstly, the session was about how to master your mind and be more successful, or how to create a success mindset. And we looked at the life-powering we explored the life-changing power of positive thought, the destructive power of negative thought, how to improve your self-worth and earning potential, and I shared with you mind over matter experiments that show that this is real, and how to master your mind with minimal effort, how to create a powerful success mindset on autopilot, and recommended resources. We're going to go to questions and answers in just a moment, but recommended resources. First of all, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, The Hidden Messages in Water by Dr. Masaru Emoto, The Dark Side of the Brain by Dr. Harry Oldfield, High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard, and my own one, which isn't there, my own bestseller, The Most Powerful Goal Achievement System in the World by Mike Pettigrew. So, those are the recommended resources. So now it's over to you. You can ask me anything about today's session, or anything that you feel I can, any way you feel I can help you. Ask me any question. If you're watching the replay, you will see a chat box probably on the right hand side of the page on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube or a few different places, because this is simultaneously broadcast on multiple networks. So just post your question in the chat and I will answer it. Or go to my website, mikepettigrew.com or achievegoalsfast.com and send me an email. I'll reply there as well. So right now I'm going to move back in front of my desktop computer and webcam, and this camera and microphone will go blank. Be a rustling noise for a moment, and then the webcam will spring to life and ask me your questions. Don't go away, just blanking out for a moment. See you in a moment. Okay, I hope you found that helpful. And I just want to double check to make sure that the audio is once again coming through from the webcam. Just 1 second. Okay. Yeah, actually the video quality is better. And last month it was terrible. It was really choppy, just from my webcam. And just before this session, I thought, I've got to get this webcam working. So I made a few adjustments and it seems to be okay. So that's a relief, because always the other video camera is exceptional quality. I think I've sorted this one out. So I hope that has helped you. I'm going to first of all copy and paste the URL for the slides of the presentation. Click on the chat box, put it here. So you should see, has that appeared? I don't see it here, but it should appear on the right hand side of the page in the chat area, the downloadable link. You see it? Yes, there it is. It takes about 10 seconds. There's a 10-second delay. It's a bit off-putting at times. So We're looking at questions. Let's see. Thanks. That's great. Thanks, John. Thanks. And a question from Frank. I'm looking at different chat boxes around the place. Question from Frank. Frank says, you explained how our subconscious mind is responsible for our successes and failures, and also how to use tapping to reprogram our thoughts and beliefs. What other methods would you recommend, particularly for overcoming limiting beliefs? Well, this is May. I think it was February. If you look back, I don't know where you're watching this. It might be YouTube or Facebook, or it could be my website or LinkedIn. But if you look back at February's training, I showed how to root out and overcome limiting beliefs. Really simple, really powerful way of discovering your limiting beliefs in any area of life, and then a way to really easily cancel them. I mean, it sounds like magic, and the effects can be like magic when you use this. Very simple. Also in February, we looked at 10, not 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5, but 10. Actually, it was 9 powerful ways to reprogram your mind for success, abundance, and wealth, and overcome bad habits. So I think looking at I was going to say Wednesday. What's Wednesday? Looking at February's live training could help you a lot. I mean, there's other ways, like affirmations, creative visualization, self-hypnosis. Self-hypnosis is great. Subliminal audios and computer programs, meditation, amazing. Biofeedback, brainwave sensing technologies, light and sound machines. And, in February, I demonstrated a lot of these devices, weird and wonderful things that actually work. I mean, following this technology, what would you say? Consciousness altering technology, cosmic experiences without the drugs. Now, these mind technologies are fascinating. Some work, some don't. But check out February's live training. By the way, it's stopped now, but if you're wondering what all the cheeping noises were in the background during the session, it's gone quiet now. I live in an old world house, and there are birds that nest in the eaves underneath the, well, they actually come in under the slates and they build their nests, and we have starlings at this time of year. I can be working in my computer here, and sometimes the noise from the birds gets so loud it's almost deafening. Then the cat goes out and looks up and tries to get at them, to shoo them away all the time. Anyway, that noise is the birds, starlings. Question from Claire. Hello, Claire. Claire says, you mentioned how you transformed your low self-worth, and this was the source of your success, enabling you to become wealthy. Apart from doubling your prices to your clients, you said you also did other things to build your self-worth. What sort of things did you do? Very good question. I started treating myself with more respect. Started saying no to people, whereas I'll always be the person who would say yes to everyone. And I'm not saying I would just say no like that anywhere and every time, but if it's something that wasn't really important, I would more frequently say no than yes, unless it really helped the other person. They really need my help. Absolutely, no problem. So learning the fine art of saying no is so liberating. It's a way of proving to yourself your self-worth. It's a way of affirming that, and people will, what would you say, when you respect yourself more, other people do too. And yeah, I think I mentioned this. I started treating myself to I tried to find a new experience or something special each week, and I started focusing more on really having more fun and exploring life more. And I started actually composing music. Now, to this day, I'm a terrible keyboard player, but back then, this is the 90s. This was the mid 90s, early to mid 90s. And I started, even back then, I was a computer nut. And there were, way back then, I think, early to mid 90s, there were the early sequencing programs. So I used to create music. with my crappy keyboard skills. I would spend all my time editing. And I started finding that I had all this music within myself. Still can't play the keyboards properly, but this was a wonderful discovery of my creativity. And my creativity started to really burst forth in many different ways. That's the amazing thing about creativity. You may stimulate it in one area, but you become creative in multiple areas. So that was a huge amount of self-discovery. Very exciting time in my life. So that was that. Hope that helps. Claire, question from Brian. Positive thinking is very important, but isn't it possible to be too positive so you're no longer being realistic? That's a great question. Well, you've heard me probably talk about Napoleon Hill before, the author of Think and Grow Rich, almost 100 years ago. That's not The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles that I did mention earlier in this session about gratitude. But Think and Grow Rich, it's a big book. And, one of the principles that he talked about was accurate thinking. Accurate thinking. So can you be too positive and no longer be, realistic? Possibly, but I think we limit ourselves greatly. And I think for most people, we need to start expanding our realm of possibility. I know there's that analogy of a big box and a smaller box inside it. The smaller box might represent our current limitations, our current ability. The bigger box shows our true capabilities. And the distance between the inner box and the outer box shows by how much we need to grow to achieve those bigger goals, to achieve our full capability. So we hold ourselves back dramatically. So, when we expand our realm of possibility, what was once impossible becomes possible. And this is a really important thing to understand here. The world's most successful people think in terms of possibility rather than what's realistic. They think in terms of possibility rather than what is realistic. I used to think in very realistic terms, and my life was very limited. And the more I thought in terms of like, what if I could do this? What if I could do that? What if, oh my goodness, the door to endless possibilities open up. And all sorts of things happen to help you achieve that or to show you it's possible. So start thinking a lot more in terms of what if, in other words, possibility, rather than what's realistic. And before long, you might find that you're achieving amazing successes in your life that before were completely unrealistic based on your conscious state at that time. Hope that helps. Important question. And if you really want to expand your realm of possibility dramatically, get hold of a copy of the most powerful goal achievement system in the world. Actually, I'm going to paste that into the chat box as well. A URL. Oh, what happened there? Yes, that worked. So, as I say, I would give it away for free because I don't need money from book sales. But Amazon insists you charge at least $1, so you can get it for $1. Well, at least the Kindle version, paperback, I don't know, $12, $16, I don't know, or euros or whatever. Anyway, as I say, after some time, you may start setting and achieving goals that right now may be completely unrealistic and even impossible. So I hope that helps. Another question here. I think this is the last question, unless you get your questions in. And look, if you're watching the replay, if you're not watching this live, you can still ask me a question. There should be a live chat box that stays permanently open on the page where you're watching this. It won't be live chat, but it will be chat, and I'll check it from time to time. So you can still ask me questions. So question from Sue. You showed us, hello Sue, you showed us a video from Harry Oldfield's PIP scanner. Isn't this the same as aura photography? I had my aura photographed years ago at a seminar, and I found out later that it's not what it appears and that it's only simulated, and it doesn't really photograph your aura at all. What do you think about this? Or is this different in some way? This is very different in some way, many ways. I know exactly what you're talking about, and it is simulated. It's not true. In fact, I did an experiment, oh, years ago, back in the 90s. I went to one of those mind, body, spirit fairs, and I put my hand on this metal, blue plastic and metal plate, and I smiled at the camera and I ducked my head down so my head wasn't even in the camera. Guess what happened when the photograph was printed? All the colors came out where my head would have been. So it's simulated. It's not your energy field at all. But I don't know much about that technology, but it is perhaps interpreting something from your hand. But that's not your energy field. It is simulated. Not saying it's a scam, but it's definitely not photographing your energy field. Absolutely, categorically not. This machine or this software that I showed you the results of, it measures and maps the minute reflections of light of the physical body and the energy field and the interactions. And it is an accurate representation of your energy field, So it's the closest thing to being actually able to view an energy field. Okay, and as I say, you can show the before and after effects of giving someone healing, or focusing your mind in a certain way and projecting love or hate, positive emotions, negative emotions. You can see the effects. And I remember once doing an experiment, and there were a few people there, and this is a long time ago. I put my hand up in front of the camcorder. It was an old Hi8 camcorder back then. Conk out automatically after 5 minutes. But anyway, unless you had the videotape rolling. But I put my hand in front of the video camera, pure white light, as I say, and I brought up emotion. I brought up a feeling of deep love, and I literally projected through my hand. And you can see my hand, actually I was recording a video, and you can play the video back through the PIP scanner. But basically, when you play it fast, maybe 4 times speed, you see my hand, which is sort of a greeny color, and suddenly this area of bright blue and then white comes in the middle of the hand. Very, very interesting. It's not capable of picking up temperature. So it's not temperature that this was showing. This is real stuff. So that is it for today, this month. So hope you found that helpful. Thank you so much for joining me. Stay safe, stay positive, stay optimistic. Create a success mindset, because the opposite is not very pleasant. And look after yourselves. And thank you very much.